Hi everyone, Holly from Safe for Kids here. Today I have the absolute pleasure of interviewing Samantha Richards. I was in a clubhouse room and about cyber safety, and she took the floor and I was just gobsmacked with hearing her story. So I thought it was one that you really needed to hear. So thanks for agreeing to talk with me, Samantha.
Oh no, thank you, Holly. I'm so excited to be able to do this. Anything to keep kids safe and help parents understand how they can help keep their kids safe too.
Fantastic. Well, I'll just let you, you just commanded the room in Clubhouse, so I'll just let you tell us our story, and as we're going through, I might ask some questions if that's okay.
Sure. So shall I just give a little bit of background about who I am and how I ended up?
Yes, please. Love it. Yeah.
Fantastic. Well, I'm actually a public speaking and communication coach, so really a consultant in how to communicate well. And I ran previously, or I still do, a business called Building Voices Public Speaking, and I also run Building Voices Communication. What ended up happening with Building Voices Public Speaking is that I'm in the children's space. I go into schools, I help children learn how to communicate confidently and competently, so they can get up and speak in any situation, think on their feet. And that was absolutely fantastic. Now, during my business growth time, my son ended up on The Voice here in Australia. In 2018, he was 15 years old, had a voice of an angel. Seriously, it was unbroken, so it was still quite soprano, but looked 12. Very young looking, and he went through all of the different stages on The Voice. And one of the things when you're on The Voice, so he was on the adult voice because they don't have the children's voice anymore. They did one season of the children's voice and that was it. So at the age of 15, he couldn't go on to the children's voice. And I was fairly ignorant about the entertainment world. It's not my industry. There's a lot of parents, it's not. We might want our kids in it, or the kids might want to be in it, but really it's a world unto itself.
I bet.
Totally different types of people, different industries, different thought processes. One of the things on The Voice that they expect all artists to have is Instagram, Snapchat, Facebook accounts, basically social media. Now, we had restricted our son because it's not saying absolutely no, but we were quite strict about what he could have. So we allowed him to have it, obviously, with me being able to have access to it. Went on The Voice. Then what happened was he got knocked off. So he got through quite a lot of rounds and then got to the battles and ended up getting knocked off on the bottom, which wasn't surprising, to be honest with you. I mean, he was 15, put up against a 28-year-old who was well established, his voice hadn't broken, but he did incredibly well. Now, what ended up happening was, and I didn't find out till quite a few months later, was he had been playing Fortnite. We've all had a Fortnite.
Every kid's on it.
Every kid's on it. They're all on Roblox now, and God knows what else they're on. So he'd been playing Fortnite, and we had the TV in our living room, and he had a headset. So we thought we were doing the right thing, monitoring him on Fortnite. Certainly didn't know about parental control, to be honest with you. I was, back then, a complete numpty, ignorant about how, excuse me, about parental control. Wasn't something I needed to think about, in all honesty.
Yeah, of course.
What we didn't know was he had been communicating using his avatar name with someone who he eventually gave up his real name. And because I think, particularly with children, when they get hurt badly. Being knocked off on The Voice really affected his confidence. He had gone into himself, and he had started talking to someone who was 16, or so we thought. And that person then gave him V-Bucks. Now, for those of your listeners, V-Bucks is the equivalent of giving money. It's to buy skins, and skins are the outfits that the characters play in.
So they're virtual dollars.
It's basically virtual dollars. And he had given him saying, "You're on The Voice, oh my God, this is what I'm going to give you," and all of that. And he would sit in these rooms and again, still being 16, pretending to be 16. And my son, as most children will, by the way, and I want to point this out, he's not unusual in this. We'll take the money. Hello. So he took the V-Bucks. Then it started the predator then, and because I can only call him a predator, because that's what he was starting the grooming process, for want of a better word. And now I know what the grooming process involves, but back then, of course, I didn't. So he then, there's, I'm going to quickly look at my things here. You've got the 6 stages of grooming. So stage 1 is targeting the victim. Now, of course, B, C, D, C, celebrity, whatever you want to call him, perfect victim who is very young. Stage 2 is gaining the victim's trust, which is giving them V-Bucks for filling. And then stage 3 is filling a victim's needs. So gaining the trust, because he'd been knocked off on The Voice, and then of course we were arguing at home a bit and things like that. So, mum and dad are the worst people on the planet. We know that kids often hate their parents. We know that. So then fulfilled his need of giving him V-Bucks, and then fulfilled his need, the void that was lacking in his life. Then they go to stage 4, which is isolating you, which what he did was he moved him off Fortnite onto Instagram Messenger and then Snapchat, because of course what we know happens on Snapchat is photographs and conversations disappear.
Yeah.
Then he starts making the relationship inappropriate. And that inappropriate is asking for photographs of yourself in your underwear, in your bathers, or naked. All right. And then once they've got those photographs, it's maintaining control. Blackmail. Now, my son swears blind he never sent photographs. I can only believe him. I have to go travel down that path. The maintaining control in our case was about the V-Bucks. I'm going to tell your parents that I gave you money and you took all my money. And of course, what's a child going to react like? They're going to freak out. I've actually asked kids in the class, how many of you would freak out if someone gave you money online and then threatened you to tell your parents? How many of you, and I said, I'm not here to judge, would freak out? So raise your hands. I'm not going to dob on you, promise. If you were to be given money, you wouldn't want to tell your parents, you'd try and sort it out. 95% of my students put their hands up.
And me, I say similar things. It's just, and what I'm hoping parents will hear from this is, because you've probably heard it a million times too, the amount of parents that say, if anything happened to my child, they'd tell me. They will not. They will not, because of the fear of having the device taken away or getting into trouble. So, our whole purpose is to educate parents about how to handle this. So, sorry to interrupt, but I'm just loving this. Thank you.
I absolutely agree with you. And that's where the problem became, because it took about 3 months before he then told us that the blackmailing had started. I'm going to tell your mum, I'm going to do this. And then there was a lot of posts on his Instagram pages, Facebook. If I posted something on my business page, or my daughter has, she's a child model, has an Instagram account, but I monitor it. She doesn't actually have any access whatsoever. So if she's done David Jones and Target ads and stuff like that, you actually just put those up. Or if she's done some, I'm super proud of my brother or whatever, the comments that would then be put under that, her thing. So it was constant delete and block and delete and block. And it got so bad, that he was creating 40, he created in the end 40 fake accounts. He outed himself because I reacted as any parent would, oh my God, block, delete, block, delete, block, delete, block, delete, because I didn't know what to do. The threats, we cancelled my son's concert because he was supposed to have done a concert. Also, he had vocal issues. So there were twofold why we cancelled. We needed to get his vocals healthy again. He had cysts. They had to have surgery. And then this guy was threatening to come to his concert. And only that year, or was it the year before, there was a girl from The Voice in America who had been assassinated by a fan. So what are you going to do? You're going to cancel the concert. You're going to over paranoia mode. And I did not know what to do. So I called the police here. They couldn't help. We went through 10 months of the stalker, 40 fake accounts, calling my son horrible names, attacking me, inboxing me, and I would tell him to get lost. I didn't know what to do. I didn't know how to grab the URL, and then didn't know that the Office of the E-Safety Commissioner actually existed, because that's not taught to us back then, parents in schools.
To be honest, still.
Is it still not?
Well, I still do workshops, and when one of the first things I say is, do you all know about the E-Safety Commission? And many of them don't. They don't know where to go to report this sort of stuff. So again, this is why I'm so glad that we're having these conversations, because hopefully, parents will hear this and then go and have a look at their website to see all the, amazing context, stuff that's on there for them.
That's right.
Because I don't want anybody to have to go through what you're going through, your family's been through.
We went through 10 months of zero sleep, 10 months of my son's anxiety levels went through the roof. My anxiety levels went through the roof. He targeted my business accounts, my personal accounts, which were on private, by the way, targeted my daughter, targeted my son, all of his social medias, and my ex-husband's private accounts, because he doesn't have business accounts and stuff like that, but would inbox message, it would be an influx and constant influx of messages. And it was really, really, really aggressive. Got to the point where he was, the behavior was very much gaslighting of my son, that my son was the problem, not him, that I was the problem, not him, even though he admitted to having a mental health issue publicly as well. What ended up happening was I had to calm down. I really had to calm down. And I started going on, I went, how can I protect my child from a predator? And that's how I found out about the Office of the E-Safety Commissioner after I'd got rid of this guy. And I'll go into what happened and why I now do what I do, because obviously this is the catalyst for it. But obviously the going lockdown and more kids were online again. It's frightening how many kids are online. So what I ended up doing was I got my family involved, and we all started hunting him down, and we found him in Wales, in the United Kingdom. What I did was, instead of panicking and block and delete and block and delete and block and delete, I started snapshotting every bit of communication, every aggressive thing, every fake account. I snapshot everything. It's all in my PowerPoint presentation. So I have a 50-minute PowerPoint presentation that I present, and people can buy it. It's only $20. So you get it, you can watch it with your child, and then it bridges the gap for conversations between parents and adults. And I actually show these fake accounts in that. So I snapshot everything and I popped it all into a PowerPoint, and I found out where he lived. Now, not everybody has this ability of being able to hunt someone down. I just happen to have pretty savvy family members over in England. So I want people to be able to hunt them down without having to resort to families if necessary. But this is my story of how we had to do it. And 16-page PowerPoint presentation with every aggressive, where he was, the names he was calling my son, the threats he was maintaining on him. And this is just one stalker, by the way. My son's had other stalkers. One boy who was sending him photos of himself self-harming. I managed to get rid of that kid as well. So we got the police on his doorstep after I found the police station in this guy's local town. Police turned up on his doorstep, and he thankfully went away. At that point, anyway. So what I'm actually wanting people to understand is that things can continue after the event when you think things are finished as well, to be honest with you. You don't know who you're dealing with. You don't know the types of person. These are very sick people. Anybody who finds children sexually attractive are not normal. And I don't care what they say in their minds, they're not normal. Recently, I absolutely believe that I have been a victim of a targeted attack on my Facebook page because I teach children how to stay safe online, where I got hacked. I changed my password regularly. I still got hacked. I got hacked, and they were posting on my personal page really horrific pictures of children doing unspeakable things. So of course, Facebook absolutely have done that's the right thing, disable the account. But typical Facebook, I can't appeal. But they haven't gone through and properly reviewed and seen that everything else on the account is perfectly healthy and safe, because I think it was a targeted attack because I teach this, but it's not going to silence me from keeping kids safe. What I want parents to do with their children is have a conversation with the kids. Say to them, if you are ever in this position, don't be afraid to talk to me. Or if you are afraid to talk to me, who would you want to talk to? And let's allow you to have that open dialogue with someone else. Because I think that this is the thing with kids. My son was afraid to talk to me because he thought I would absolutely go mental at first. And he tried to sort it out. And it wasn't until after my daughter's account got stalked that he then came to me. So when we are looking at our children, what they need from us, they need to know that they're safe. They need to know that you're not going to lose it and take stuff away from them. The worst thing that we can do, and I didn't take any of my son's stuff away from him, but what the worst thing that you can do is take away their iPad, their iPhone, their computer, and all of that. Because what happens is that they become sneaky. Think back to when you were a child. If you were a child in today's digital age, be honest, you would have been sneaky too. So you have to think like a child to protect a child, but behave like an adult. All right, so that's one thing. Well, the other thing that I would like to bring to people's attention is why I get got into this. When COVID happened, we went online. I had 24 hours to get online. What I then found out was that about 90%, actually probably more, closer to 95, 98% of my children that I was coaching online in my schools were gaming. Only last term, because we were online last term, oh joy, yet again, I had a young girl 8 years old, thought she was playing with her friends. Turned out it was a 79-year-old man. He outed himself, thank God, because sometimes people are just a bit daft and they get a little bit desperate about satisfying their need, their desire. And if they get desperate, they're more likely to make mistakes. It's the ones that will play the long game. What people have to understand is that a predator, and I'm using that word because that's what both children and adults need to understand. They are predators out there. It is like being in a jungle and you are behind a tree hiding and there's a big tiger out there, they're sniffing you out. So there are predators out there. And what they need to understand is that when you have these predators, they will play the long game. The super smart ones play the long game. The ones who can control their urges play the long game for satisfaction. And they can take anywhere up to 12 months to 2 years to find their right victim. So just because someone's child hasn't been picked on right then and there, but they will spend a long time getting to know and then disconnecting that child from all the people that can protect them. And here's the other thing, Pollyann, if we adults can make silly mistakes, God knows children are going to make even worse mistakes. And they are going to make even worse mistakes. So how do we prevent that? Well, first and foremost, they need to be able to talk to you or another responsible adult. You as an adult, as a parent, as a carer, need to be educated in the right way on how to protect. It's not just the Office of the Youth Safety Commissioner. You also need to know that the Australian Federal Police are able to help you with grooming. And there are a whole heap of, in my presentation, I've got all the links to all of these different things. Kids Helpline. Kids need to be able to talk to someone at the same time, because what's the ramification after? It's not, and actually you adults need to talk to someone, because I know I struggled. I struggled knowing that my child was being targeted. I struggled knowing that my child's innocence was being ripped away from him. And I struggled as an adult knowing that there was this awful world out there, and that we had somehow, because of a poor mistake, children make poor mistakes, it's not their fault. A poor choice then became a much bigger problem. And these predators escalate when they're rejected. And that's what happened. They escalate, they get more aggressive, more threatening. And one of the things that I found that I struggled with was because he had been in the public eye, there was no support for us as well from, when I contacted the Voice and people like that about how the predators or the stalker, I want to say more than predators, because at that point I didn't realize what was happening, and I got no response, and they're a reality TV show, they don't respond, they don't actually give a toss about the kids, they give a toss about ratings, and in their mind it's not their responsibility to actually keep these kids safe. In my mind, it is 100%. If you're putting a child, yes, it's my responsibility, but if you're putting the child onto an adult TV show, because I saw adults caving in, onto an adult TV show where they're then going to be put out into the public eye, you have a duty of care, a legal duty of care. And I really, really struggled with that. So that's from a kid who was put into the public eye. Your children, other people's children may not be put into the public eye. That doesn't mean kids don't want validation.
And they do, that's the problem, isn't it? They do want that validation. They do, any child that's online, so perpetrators look for vulnerable children and available children. Any child online is both, because, if they're using Discord, if they've got headphones on and things like that, they're so, smooth at getting that connection and things like that. So I'm really excited that you're talking about grooming, which is something I call it friending up, because I work in a lot of Aboriginal communities, but it's something that I'm going to be making a lot more resources on, because people, and it's the same for grooming in the real world as it is online.
Yeah.
And, it's just, people just don't know the signs to look for. So, we have to keep having these conversations. So I'm really grateful that, and if you're happy, in the show notes, I'll put a link to your parent course, if that's okay, if you can email me that.
Yeah, to the presentation.
Yeah.
Absolutely. No, I'll do that. And then people can be able to do it. And they can watch it in their own time with the children. I've got a couple of exercises. It's what I learned from the Office of the Youth Safety Commissioner. And then I amalgamated all of these different areas and elements into one spot. It's a one-spot shop where you've got all the information. And I also, by the way, I'd just like to say to kids, if you're listening to this, if you don't mind, Holly-Ann, can I just,
Please.
one last thing. Kids, if you're listening to this, one of the things I say to kids is, imagine you've got a set of house keys, your house keys. Your mum and dad have given you your house keys. You need to get in. You're going out with your friends. Now imagine yourself going up into the local park and you see some complete random stranger you've never met before. Imagine yourself walking up to that random stranger going, "Hi, excuse me, here's my house keys and I live at..." Question, would you ever do that? Don't sit there, by the way, and go, yeah, I would, because I know you wouldn't. So would you ever do that? Be honest. Would you walk up to a random male or a complete random female that you've never met before and give them your house keys and give them your address in real life? Would you be happy for your parents to leave you playing in a sandpit with a complete strange adult on your own? You'd feel very uncomfortable, wouldn't you? If you would, ask yourself this: if I wouldn't do it in real life, why on earth would I do it online? It's worse online because you can't see the person and they're often hiding behind a face. And just like you showed me, Holly-Ann, with your book, child on a computer could be talking to the big bad wolf in disguise.
Yeah.
Don't think that it can't happen to you. We want you to have fun online, stay safe online. Don't get off of being online, stay online, that's fine. But know what you're looking for. And here's another tip, kids. Pick a proper code word to have with your friends. And that's not a code word of your dog's name, Bob, or your best friend's name, Mary. It is a code word of, "Oh, my mum got really angry with me last night." It's a code sentence. Or it's a, "We're going to Barbados on holiday." Something completely out of the ordinary. And that's what you have with your particular friends. And those are the codes when you're playing online. You go, "I'm going on to Barbados." "Oh, fantastic, I'll join you." If that person is contacting you saying, "I'm going to Barbados on holiday this year," then you know that you're playing with a friend, because it's your code sentence with your friend. Don't pick a code word of poppy or your favorite food, pizza, because it's easy for a clever predator to work out, a clever person to work out what children like. So you need to pick something completely, or you could say something like, "Oh, I've got a rash on my hand." Something bizarre, but be smart about it. And that way you can stay safe online.
Well, that's right. I mean, when I'm in schools, 2/3 of 8-year-olds tell me they go online when their parents are asleep. So, the take homes for me for parents is, no technology in bedrooms ever. you know, you can get these lock boxes now that you put all the devices in on charge overnight, because, you know, I've heard stories of children sneaking out and grabbing their iPad and sneaking back into bed and being up all night. And, you know, again, people that prey on children, if a child's online at 11 o'clock at night playing a game, they're going to be so much easier to groom than if it's in the family room during the day. So, you know, we need parents to get educated. So I'll also share links to the eSafety website, and also the AAAC, where, which is the federal police, to, you know, You Think You Know has got some really good. So I'll put all of those in the show notes for people to, you know, we don't want, you know, to open this can of worms and not give people tools. So I'm really keen to share your links so that they hopefully will come and take your course.
Thank you. And it would be good as well, because I think it's not just keeping kids safe online. If they learn how to communicate well, this is why I do what I do for a living. If children learn how to communicate well, they build resilience, they build the ability to think independently. They stop having that. I've had children who then have the confidence to then go to school leader roles, because they're not afraid to say, go away, I'm not doing that, or take the lead when the lead needs to be taken. So there's actually a huge knock-on effect of being able to communicate on every level, because communication isn't about just what comes out of our mouth. It's about the tone we use, it's the body language we use, as well as the content. And understanding all of those little aspects of it means that what we end up developing in our children is much healthier individuals. So if we sit there and think about 70% of people would rather die than get up and deliver a speech, they would. Death is, public speaking is actually, or getting up and delivering a speech is the number one fear. People would rather die than do that. So, and so many parents put their kids into my course and they say, I wish I had this when I was younger. And I'm very childish, just so you know, I'm the adult that does combat roles to get the kids to relax, and I make lots of noises, because once they understand, actually, it's about having fun. And when you have fun, you're able to step out of your comfort zone, you strip away these facades, and then I'm able to bring out the children's true abilities. And I've been astounded with in fact, kids are only limited by what we put in front of them. They are extraordinary little people, and I still learn from them. I think they're incredibly smart, but we as adults, and I think the education department really needs to stop putting kids into boxes, because they don't fit in. It's not a one box or one size fits all. I was the kid who was the anomaly at school. I did not fit in that way. And I think that was because I had a different understanding, I've lived in 7 countries. So I understand human nature better than any book. You can pick up any of these, you can go and learn, but it's nothing compared to living in the countries and actually having to integrate into society and understanding that communication is the same across the board.
Yeah, no, definitely.
Yeah.
Let's keep doing that. Well, thank you so much. Yeah, like I said, I'll definitely share your details with people, and hopefully they'll get in contact with you. It's been brilliant. Cheers.
Thank you, Carrie Ann. Holly Ann.